Welcome to the QSM Podcast, where we inspire you to unplug from social media and reconnect with the real world around you. Here are your hosts, partners and friends, investigators, Elias, Lou, Larry, and George.
So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the poison of pornography and how social media is serving as the open door to this vicious vice. So, welcome back, guys. How's everybody doing today?
Good. What's going on?
Good, man. It's been a while. How you been?
Good. Happy to be here.
Happy to be back, guys.
It's an interesting topic, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
It's taboo for some, but I think we'd all have to admit something we struggle with, right?
100%.
Within our homes and personal experiences. I mean, everybody can talk about this particular topic.
Right. So I think, obviously pornography, I don't know if you know, but like 80%, I think, to 90%, I think it's between 80 and 90% of all websites on the internet are pornography related.
Wow.
Yeah. I forgot the source of that, but I remember I did a paper back in school about pornography, and I have found a citation showing that 80 to 90% of all websites, all content on the internet is pornography.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's astronomical.
It's like sells, huh?
It does sell. Yeah, it
That's
does.
exactly it. And that's where the money's going to go.
Right.
80 to 90.
Yeah.
Not on education,
No.
not on anything, just pornography.
Absolutely.
And that ties in with exactly what we've been talking about. You know, kids on social media and on the internet. I mean, if 90% of the content that's out there is pornography,
They're bound to run into it.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, these statistics are showing that kids are being exposed to pornography now a lot younger than what they were when, let's say, I was growing up. You know, I can't remember the exact age when I came across pornography, but I know kids now are seeing pornography as young as 7 and 8 years old. And obviously, 7 or 8, if they have a smartphone or a tablet, they're stumbling across pornography very, very young. And that's a huge issue. And the pornography that they're seeing now is very different from when, let's say, I was growing up, right? I mean, my experience seeing pornography that I could remember for the first time was in a magazine.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody has any similar stories. Do you remember, like, when you first saw your first, naked woman?
I mean, I can jump in there.
I do. Oh, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. So I remember I went to a daycare where some older kids would go to. And I mean, I don't remember how old I was. I must have been maybe 9 or 10.
Right.
And one of them brings out like a Playboy magazine, and we're all like sitting in a tree house. We're like, oh, adults and adults. And they open up this magazine, and like, I see some blonde girl with huge tits. And I remember I was like, wow, mind blown.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was like the strongest drug you could ever consume at that age.
Right.
And to think that, a 7-year-old with an iPad can have access to content like that is scary.
Well, I don't think they're having the same access that you had, right? Because you saw a still image on a magazine of a naked woman.
It ends there. Everything else is his imagination.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Playboy is pretty clean, you know what I mean? Compared to, like Hustler magazine or what you see now, like Pornhub or X videos or any of these hardcore sites now. And that's what kids are looking at now. And the porn is different, right?
Yeah.
Because the porn now is just, it's wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. It's just like there's no intimacy, there's no storyline, there's nothing. Now it's very hardcore, it's very violent. Yeah. And it really degrades women, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like the porn that's being shot now. And this is what kids are looking at, because they're either stumbling on it by accident, or they have an older friend that goes, hey, go to Google and type in, whatever.
Titties.
Yeah, titties or whatever, sex and this is, the representation of what sex is to a kid. This is what they're seeing, right? There's no intimacy, there's no love, there's no relationship, there's nothing. And that's a fucking huge issue,
Yeah. And it's like saying that, back then you would have to use your imagination.
Yeah.
Like, well, I wonder what the rest of her body looks like. But now you can't have curiosity. I mean, it's just, you see everything HD, 1080p, 4K.
There is no imagination.
There is no.
And it's not like we're going to go home to our wives and be like, yeah, I wonder what this will be like with my wife. No, you're going to jerk off to that particular video.
Right.
And that's where that whole experience ended. And then tomorrow it's a whole nother new clip. There isn't any like reenactment where you saw that nudie mag, like, damn, that was so, so hot. I'm horned up. I'm going to do this with my girlfriend. I'm going to do this with my wife. That doesn't exist. You took care of yourself because you had the whole experience right in front of you.
Right.
And how about you, Larry? What was your first experience, if you remember?
Man, I remember, man.
I was 22 years old.
No, I was about seven or eight.
What were you doing?
I was in Cuba.
In Cuba in a treehouse.
So we didn't have social media in Cuba. So man, my uncle, he had a poster. I remember to this day, bro. It was this chick. She had her tongue sticking out. She was licking the salt of somebody's balls. I can't laugh.
Salt?
Yeah.
On balls?
Like a magazine.
Yeah, it's not Playboy, bro.
No, it was like a poster. It was like a poster, right?
Uh-huh.
And you see her tongue, right? You see the guys. I didn't know what it was at the time. I was 7, dude. I was like, oh, that's a cool poster. She's licking her fucking, I don't know, an ice cream pop or something. And then as I got older, and I came to this country, I came when I was 9, right? And then I think when I was like 17 is when I started realizing that she was licking somebody's balls.
So basically you're telling me that what you saw at 7 was still sticking with you and you were trying to understand that 10 years later.
I understood that after like 17 or 16, I don't know, around that time, I don't remember. But
wow.
It didn't register, dude. That's our brain. Just think about that. And then the kids are looking at this content now.
Right.
Imagine the trauma that it causes. Because I remember vividly. I remember seeing the poster and I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
I just saw a chick, whatever. And then it's like years later, I look back at it and I'm like, dude, I saw somebody's trying to lick somebody's.
You saw porn.
I saw porn, and to this day, I remember vividly. It was just crazy. I'm holy shit, that stayed with me forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and definitely stays with you for a long time.
Dude, yeah. So I imagine the kids now looking at the content that's available out there, which is like George was saying, it's just brutal. You have this, and then there's different fetishes too. You never know what your kid is watching. And I think that could segue into your sexuality. Right. Your kid could start questioning his sexuality because he sees it, and then he sees 2 women going at it, and he or she doesn't know.
Right.
And then he's not going to go to you. He's not going to tell you, hey, mom, I just saw this. Nah. He's going to figure out. And then he's going to have questions, and he's not going to know the answer to them.
Right.
Right. And who's he going to go to?
Who's he going to go to? He's going to go to that other buddy.
Social media.
He's going to DM his buddy and be like, yo, what's this?
Right. Yeah. And that's sad, really, because then you don't know what you have. You don't know. Then your son wants to, imagine.
And it's another one of these things that like has been normalized.
Yeah.
And I remember growing up, I would hear often that masturbation and porn is normal.
Right.
It's the normal thing to do. I mean, and to a certain extent, it is.
Yeah.
Right? You get to an age where you
correct
experiment.
Yeah.
You want to see.
You have sexual exploration, right?
Right. And you have urges.
But
I would say that hard pornography, or even regular pornography, for a 10, 11-year-old is not normal.
No, I agree 100%.
Right.
No, one thing is, basically you have that urge, right? You have that compulsion, right? Because your body's is yearning for it based off your stimulus. And you masturbating to your own imagination of that girlfriend, that idea of a sexual encounter, or if you did have a sexual encounter, that reenactment of that sexual encounter is something completely different to watching that video.
Yeah.
Right? And looking at that and that be your stimulation. At that point, you're not remembering what you did and stimulating yourself based off of that. You're watching that. You're being stimulated by something else. I think that's where the majority of the damage does. It's where it's happening, because a male ejaculating, that's a natural thing where we're meant to reproduce. We're meant to grow in population. What we're not meant to do, you even think of cavemen, is imagine what that guy in that cave is doing with his wife, and I'm going to jerk off to that. I'm not going to grow my family.
That's not normal.
That's not normal. But that's become the day-to-day.
Yeah, social media.
So I'm looking at another man, another woman, or 2 women doing this, and it's become normal for me to hold this in my hand,
and get aroused,
jerk off to that, get aroused, whatever, and have my own little experience. That's what it's got. Now, I challenge people, put that phone away when you go into the shower, right? Anywhere that you would normally masturbate, anytime that you find alone, put that phone away. And if you still find yourself needing the urge to masturbate, do so without the phone. See how far you get.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you're not succeeding, that kind of says something. You need that stimulus from that phone. It's not coming from your urge and I want to do this. Like, no, you just link those two things together. That addiction to seeing that content on the phone. And what triggers you? Is it that hot girl on Instagram you just saw? The naked girl doing pull-ups on Reddit? You know? Yeah. Or is it really something like, damn, I miss my wife? You know, we've both been busy, had a long work day. I haven't been able to, you know, make love to my wife this week or whatever. And that's why I'm feeling this way. Or is it because you're swiping through bikini photos and have naked girls twerking all day long?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You're constantly reminded about sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a global issue. You know, I mean, you have famous people. Everybody's affected by it in that sense because it's what porn does is that it has an expectation that it's not achievable. Period.
What do you mean by famous people? Do you know anybody that has struggled with that? Like, you know, like a famous person, a celebrity that has come out?
I believe that there's a clip. I don't know if we could pull it up. Terry Crews, I believe. He was in
Terry
White Chicks.
Crews, really?
He's in White Chicks. You know the guy from White Chicks? The club scene?
He can bounce it back. Just
Right, that guy. I mean, that guy's built like a Greek god, right? And you would never think that guy would have any need to have any outside type of stimuli, right? I mean, he could have any woman he wants, right?
Yeah, I think he was married too. He was an NFL player. He's really successful.
Yeah. And I believe that I don't know if you guys could pull it
You
up.
got it here?
I
Okay.
believe he might have had.
So there's a video titled "How Terry Crews Overcame Porn Addiction." Short clip here.
Last time you were here, and I know you've spoken about this in the past, you talked about going through a period of being addicted to porn.
Yes.
I wonder and it's funny because during the break you were saying that you've been married 30 years, which is incredible. At what point in your marriage did that come upon you?
Oh, well, when my wife walked out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was like, I'm done with you. And, you know, it was something that the porn use led to me being unfaithful years earlier. And what happened was, after years of hiding and not saying anything, she confronted me. She was like, what is it I don't know about you, Terry Crews? And I told her.
Wow.
And she was like, that's it. I'm out. And I was like, you know what? Then go on, bye. And you know what happened? I was literally thinking, my God, you know what? It's her fault, isn't it? But you know, I realized it was me.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, I knew I had to change. And I had a friend who told me, he said, you need to get better for you, man. And I went to rehab. I was like, I need to break this. And it was something that, it was a stronghold, but I thank God I'm out of it. And I learned how to you know, you learn that you've learned a lot of wrong things. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I learned to correct them. And now my wife and I are better than ever. We're back together, super strong. And, you know, it's wild because you can't keep secrets in a relationship.
Wow, that's crazy. So like you guys said, this isn't some overweight dude that can't talk to people, that can't seek out women and real interaction. This is a celebrity that's well known, has the body of a Greek god in a 30-year marriage, and his life still crumbles because of his access and abuse of pornography and
social media. It all goes back to that.
Yeah. What do you think is the relationship between social media and pornography?
I think it's a trigger thing, you know? Like people struggle with, like anything else, right? I'm struggling with alcohol and I'll see a commercial about Flanagan's or another pub or whatever. It's a trigger. I'm going to want to experience that. So I think if we already have a hard time letting go of pornography and masturbation and so on, but I'm constantly being triggered by those images on social media, videos and photos and everything else, naturally, what am I going to do? It's already on my hands. The device is there. All I have to do is swipe this way, open the browser and start, and I'm off. You know what I mean? So I think part of it is social media giving you those little tastes, right? Basically it's borderline pornography already.
Soft
the way that
porn.
Yeah, exactly. It's soft porn. So it's an easy segue to hardcore porn. Because it's on the same device, just a different application. So I think social media really serves as that soft porn, that foreplay, if you will.
Like a stepping stone.
It's a stepping stone of all ages, too.
And what you're seeing now is that it's not even a stepping stone from Instagram to Pornhub. It's the same Instagram, supermodels that you're following. They all have OnlyFans.
Correct. That's a big one.
It's the promotional page.
It's a big
right.
So now you don't even have to use your curiosity and your imagination.
Correct.
Right, with this girl that you might find attractive, you can click on her stuff, and she'll link you to her OnlyFans and go, for $9.99.
That's the thing.
See anything you want.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then as parents that are listening in, I know this episode is kind of uncensored in a way, right?
Yeah.
But it's stuff you guys have to listen to. Your children could be, they could be looking at YouTube, and then they find a video of a girl doing a dance, obviously an attractive girl or an attractive guy, whatever, and they'll click on it, and then that's a link to that guy's OnlyFans or her OnlyFans or maybe her Pornhub website. You never know.
Yeah.
And then your children's automatically there.
Yeah, it's not like your kid is immune to it, right? It's not like, oh, it's my kid's 11. So obviously Instagram's going to give them 11-year-old material. No, it's not. Yeah. It's going to give them anything. And if your kid's looking at dances, those dances are going to turn from, I don't know, doing the stinky leg to the twerk, from the twerk to the here's the intro to my OnlyFans video.
Never know.
If you want to see more, click the link in the bio.
Or Pornhub.
Go straight to Pornhub.
That's crazy.
Yeah, YouTube has a lot of videos that are borderline softcore pornography. You know what I mean? I think they don't allow pornography, but softcore pornography, they do allow it because there's a ton of videos. You go into YouTube and you type in boobs or you type in anything. So if you're a kid and you got YouTube, that's all you got to do. Just type in one word and you're off to the races. You're starting right off the bat. And most parents either don't really know this, and if they do, they think, well, I have parental controls, or I have this, or I have that. But we know that censorship is just not a realistic way of trying to control it, because there's always a workaround. There's always a way to get it. I remember when I was in college, I went to a Christian university that was very, very and they didn't allow any pornography on their network. So anything that was even inappropriate. So I remember trying to buy a cologne at the time that I used to wear called Very Sexy. It was by Victoria's Secret. And I tried to go to victoriasecret.com and it was blocked.
Wow.
But then YouTube was available. So you can go on YouTube. And I was like, why are you blocking Victoria's Secret when you can just go to YouTube and type in boobs and you're going to see softcore pornography? It made no sense at all. But YouTube wasn't blocked because, they had a program where they gave you phones or, with the school, and it came preloaded on the devices. So it's just an example that you can't really completely block things on apps. Even with parental controls, there's always a workaround, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of parents use that as almost like a crutch, right? Parental control. It's a button, it's a click, it's a setting. But I think parental control is a lot deeper than that, right? Those are conversations you're doing with your kid. Those are things you're proactively doing, not just on the device, but how you speak, how you interact with that child. To really say, hey, I'm in control, right? I know that if my kid is having this urge or this thought or this, this thing came to us, this question, right? He can come to me. I think that means that's more of parental control than just assuming that the device is safe because you put your hands on it for 5 minutes, click a couple of things on that they're going to turn off anyway,
right?
And then giving it to them willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not only children that are, affected. Like we were covering earlier, people like Terry Crews or just any adults. There's a huge movement online called NoFap. I'm not sure if you guys are aware.
No. What is NoFap?
Well, NoFap is like a movement to not fap, which is like the
noise that masturbation makes.
Yeah, not noise, but like they say fapping, masturbating. Yeah, right. So no masturbation is the objective. And it basically is like a community where people who might have a problem with porn addiction or just understand that it's bad come together and just speak about it.
And hold each other accountable. Like, yo, I'm going to do these 30 days.
Yeah. And what you'll see a lot on, especially if you go on like the Reddit website or whatever, you see that they'll post their achievements, like 60 days clean, 90 days clean, and people rooting for them. And if somebody relapses, they go, oh, I relapsed today. And then people are, telling him, keep your head high, you can still do it, right? So there's this huge movement. It's not like it's like some underground thing that people are not talking about.
So that's definitely speaking to porn addiction, right?
Absolutely.
And social media, as we have basically put out there, is like a stepping stone that can lead you down that path, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think an important point is, when we think of social media and when we think of what we're doing when we're masturbating to pornography, it's voyeurism, right? We're watching other people have sex.
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, you're watching other people eat, other people vacation, other people have fun and drive those cars. So it's a simple transition. Now you're watching other people have sex. And it all started with watching that other woman, not your wife, not your partner, not your boyfriend, dressed that way and experience these things. You're becoming just a voyeur. All you're doing is watching other people, and then based off of that, getting your own response from it.
Right.
And that thing that shapes everything around you in a negative way. Because now everything you judge, you're going to judge your relationship. You're going to judge sex with your wife. You're gonna judge, she cooked me that meal, but the way that, when you went to Kobe, Michelin star, 5-star restaurant, the way they plated that, it's not the way my wife did it. Or when I went to my friend's house.
Right.
It tastes better. You put love into that meal, but
It's the same thing.
yeah, same thing. But this looks better. This gets me likes. Right. You tried. You were into me. You put the lingerie. Thank you so much for thinking about me as a husband and what you want to do for me. But
you don't look like her.
You don't look like her.
That's
she looked
brutal.
better in that thing, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's just become the brutal reality. Like we're just now become just voyeurs, where everything, all our, everything in our soul that tells us this is good and I'm happy with this has become just what we're consuming through our eyes and our devices and social media, not our tangible real life experiences.
Right. That's a great point.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't know if people listening in know. I mean, we have this was back in 2021, obviously. These are stats from back then, but we have 58.4% of the world's population, they use social media. And the average is 2 hours and 27 minutes.
Wow.
And then you have, this was back in 2021, we have 2.91 billion users on Facebook. Then we have on YouTube, 2.56 billion users on YouTube. WhatsApp is 2 billion users. And Instagram is 1.47 billion. This was back in 2021.
A third of the population of the entire world.
TikTok was 1 billion users at that time. So imagine you could double that now being 2023. And Snapchat was 557 million active users. So we're exposed to, innumerable amounts of social media, dumps of all sorts of kind,
Yeah, they're definitely doing something right when they have that many users on it, right?
And that was back in 2021.
That's a good product.
Say
Sure.
That was in 2021. So imagine now.
So let me ask you this. What do you think it says about our society when something like OnlyFans is becoming so mainstream?
It goes back into that voyeurism, right? And I'd rather pay. So I'm working my ass off, right? Because you can go on, was it Pornhub, all those websites you mentioned earlier. Right. It's free.
It's free.
Yeah. Like I could type in all kinds of monstrosities and it's going to show up, some weird thing,
Right.
It's going to pop up. But I rather now, I saw the profile on social media, right? And she's giving me just this little taste. This is kind of what I look like in lace. This is what I look like under a waterfall because I have all this money to vacation with it. It's like, damn, I want more because I can't go to Pornhub and watch you for free.
Right.
So I'm going to work my ass off, right? Instead of feeding my family and my kids, I'm going to give you that money so I can see the whole thing. Yeah. I want to see the full uncensored version of this. You've been giving me taste for weeks. I can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to pay you money. Show me. But it's all there. I promise. Never been a subscriber, but
It sounds like you doing a couple.
Never happened. I promise. I promise. But I can see how it works. I can see how easily people fall into that trap, because pornography, I get horned up. I'm going to log in, jerk off. It's over. Do the same thing tomorrow.
Right.
But that Instagram, or again, any social media in particular, where they're just giving you these tastes and making you want it and craving, just giving you enough, edging you, right, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's basically the advertisement. That's what they're doing. These people, sometimes children, just 18 years old, right? Still don't even know what it means to be a woman, are advertising themselves and then now open to men and women too, I'm sure, right? To that voyeurism. Pay for this service and I'm going to give you that custom content, right?
Exactly. That's exactly.
This is just for you, Papi. This is just, the way I took this off, the way that I did my button so slow, that's just for you. You paid for this. This is a custom voyeur experience just for you.
Imagine.
You're going to pay for that.
Right. I was going to segue into that. I mean, aside from pornography addiction, you also have people that are addicted to webcam models.
That's correct.
Which is more of a personalized form of porn, right? Where you go on, you can donate however amount of money, and you can say, I want you to get naked and call me this name or do this, right? You could, I mean, as far as you want to take it, as far as your pockets can go. And we see, even people that look great, right? Like
Terry Crews, we just mentioned.
Terry Crews, yeah.
There's another example of a guy named Larry Wheels.
Larry Wheels, right?
Yeah, who's a big bodybuilder on YouTube.
How many subscribers does he have?
He has almost 3 million.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Powerlifting records. I mean, this guy is not some slob living in a basement. This is a well-accomplished grown man who is a good-looking dude.
Is around women, good-looking women, because they're probably in the same industry.
The fitness industry.
And I'm sure he doesn't even have to open his mouth to pick up girls, right? And, he even came out with a video called Overcoming My Addiction. And we could play like a minute.
When you go on adult sites, you may see ads for campsites. Well, sometimes I'd spend an hour or two on an adult site trying to find the perfect video. And then one day I finally caved in and wanted to see what the fuss about these campsites were. Probably the worst decision I've ever made, because I got sucked in slowly but surely. Slowly over time, started off with, maybe $1 or $2 $10 purchases, tipping them out of $10 here and there. Innocent, nothing huge, nothing significant. After about 3 to 6 months of experimenting and visiting these campsites, I realized myself going on it more and more frequently. And fast forward to the last, I want to say 8 months, every single month, I have been spending any and every last bit of extra money that I have coming monthly on campsites, on online paid porn, on models. And it has not only compromised my relationship, but my future. Luckily, I have a very understanding partner. You guys all know her as Nicole Drinkwater. And I finally had the courage to open up to her about it, because I had no savings. I had nothing for my future, nothing. And maybe at one point I was getting into a negative balance.
Wow. Larry Wheels.
That's crazy.
Another person that you would expect. You walk in, oh, that dude's a stud.
Right.
Yeah. What pornography? The dude's a walking ad for people, like the example, what they want to be.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I wanted to have a body like him to get women.
Right.
But even someone like him can get sucked in, like you said, into a world like that and go into a negative balance. Someone who works his ass off and is in that industry making money because of that.
Social media.
Voyeurism, social media, diving him into that world, essentially. Because that I think the sense of self and physique, that judgment, is what social media does. Because when he works out, he's going to post a video. Yeah. And if people don't like it, that's not business for him, right? He has to sell that protein and that shirt and those pants. So if he's in that world that this is what women are for, I'm going to pay them to do custom things for me.
Yeah.
You end up there.
Right.
Now, something with the parents listening in have to really think. If this happened to Larry Wheels, he's a grown-ass man, right? What could happen to your child?
Right.
What are the long-term repercussions of what could happen to your kid by being exposed to pornography so early on? That's something that I think everybody should really take a hard look at. The repercussions.
Your husband? Is your husband struggling with this? Is your wife struggling?
You wouldn't know.
Right. It's not something that only men struggle with. I mean, women struggle with porn addiction too. I know that a lot of women are into the erotic novels. They're more of like readers, not so much visual. Right.
50 Shades of Grey, buddy.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, stuff like that.
So it's definitely something that both genders are affected by.
Nothing wrong with that, but it's when it starts affecting your relationship.
Yeah.
And in your marriage, that's when it's a problem.
I think it's a problem from the beginning. It's just when you see it affecting you, that's probably when it's too late. You end up there like they said.
That's what you need to.
My wife said it's over. And then you're like, oh shit, now I have to do something about it. Now I need to go to a rehab because I can't just stop anymore. It's out of my control at this point.
Right. And would Terry Crews have a porn addiction if he had a flip phone? I mean, that's a good question.
If his wife noticed him going into the office, right, and he had the 49-inch ultra wide, and he was like, "Don't knock before you come in." Do you think his wife would have known? Do you think he would have tried a little harder? No. You're right. He had it in his hand, no matter where he went, any whatever single space and opportunity he had for that privacy, toilet time, shower, in the car, whatever, he could take advantage of that. Right. But like you're right, if it was on a flip phone and that's what he interacted with, I think he would have been limited or eliminated. That he would just have to screw his wife at the end of the day, and actually be a human being and mate with his wife, not this virtual reality that he wanted to spend his life in,
Right.
And how do you guys feel about communication, right? I think I've mentioned this off air with you guys too, but how social media affects communication between partners and between friends and family. And if a man had a certain, urge, I'm horny, right? Mm-hmm. But he knows that it's hard to communicate, maybe because he doesn't know how. It's easy to send your wife that DM with that meme video or that funny video you sound, hey, you'll laugh at it, whatever. But it's kind of hard to sit down and have that hard conversation with, hey, listen, I'm struggling with this, right? I'm kind of need more intimacy from you. So then rather than have that conversation, they're going to just jerk off. So how do you guys feel about how social media affects conversations with your partner, where you can't just express to her or her express to you, I need more of this from you, or try something different. Hey, I'm kind of bored of missionary. Let's try something different. But it's less complicated, right? When we have things like that are limiting our ability to communicate, to just search. I'm tired of missionary. So today I'm going to jerk off to doggy style.
Right.
And there you go. Mission accomplished. I'm going to jerk off to that. How do you guys feel about how social media affects communication between families?
Well, I think, excuse me, I think that it definitely affects the way people communicate, right? That's what this is all about. In relationships, I'm not sure, because I don't really have social media. So I don't really talk to my partner, to my fiance through social media. So how about you guys? I mean, have you ever had like a relationship when you were on social media? I'm trying to think back, like when I was on it.
Yeah, but I don't just mean DMing her on social media. I mean, like, for example, let's say you guys don't communicate DMing each other, right? Or having conversations on social media, but the time that you could spend talking about hard topics, one of you or both of you are on social media browsing either way. So you're not really talking about certain things. So not necessarily that you use it to communicate, but that the time you could be using to learn about each other and grow as a partnership, as a couple, you're spending on that social media platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it ties back to everything that we've been talking about. I mean, the more time you spend on the phone, the less you actually even know your partner, the less you speak.
The less you know them, correct.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the less you do things that you want to do. It's a consumer of energy. It completely makes you a sleeper, if you will.
Right.
And so I think it does affect it,
Can you elaborate on what a sleeper is, just so if anybody's listening, they know what that means?
Wow, sleeper. So if you're at a red light, and it turns green and someone's honking at you, you're probably a sleeper. That's kind of a good way to figure out, hey, am I one of those people that they're talking about, right? Are you truly connected to the world around you or the device in front of you? Right? So if you're a sleeper, you're not experiencing life. You're not awake, right? If I'm awake, I'm going to smell those roses. I'm going to experience, hey, I'm going to have real conversations with people. So I think part of the whole sleeper and the concept you keep hearing us talk about is you're not really living, right? You aren't awake. You're in that matrix that we're trying to help you guys escape from. You're not experiencing life as what it is. And that affects you, your children, your wives, your family, your friends. You rather communicate in that connected, multiverse than have real conversations, right? Mm-hmm. And you could be a sleeper in pornography, which is the whole point of this podcast, right? You are in that dream state. You're imagining having sex with that woman. You're not truly doing it. No. Your hand's doing it. Yeah, it's crazy. You're not actually feeling that or having that connection. You're in that dreamlike sleep state. Yeah. You're not awake experiencing that with a real partner or actually saying that's my memory. I created that. Right. So when you keep hearing us reference a sleeper, it's someone who's not really experiencing their lives, right? They're still connected to that web, to that world, to that social media somehow, not truly living.
Yeah, and it's interesting because now that you describe what a sleeper is, I'm sure in your everyday life, you're going to see people and you're going to be like, oh, that's a sleeper. Now I know what they were talking about. When you walk into, say, a restaurant, Chipotle, Chili's, whatever, people are on their phones. Yeah. They're not paying for sleepers, just surrounding. Their waiters like, do you need water? And they're like, huh?
Like, huh? What's this? Wow, waiter's slow.
And they look startled.
Yeah.
Like, this is a person.
Why does everybody get startled all of a sudden, They don't like being woken up. Nobody likes to be woken up, right? You're laying in bed, someone comes at you like, oh, what? But if you're awake, right, and you're living your life, why would someone come in to talk to you, startle you as much?
Yeah.
And and going back to that, I'm sure you guys have seen them. They're walking. You see them crossing this.
Oh yeah, they'll get run
off in the street, and he's on his phone, man. He's walking, and you're honking at him. Hey, what are you doing? And then he's just there. He's walking.
I think in New York they passed a law that you can't walk and text. I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard that from somebody. There's an actual law in New York City. We're gonna have to circle back and check, but I heard there's a law that you can't walk and text. You'll get cited because people are texting and walking. So New York's very busy with like a pedestrian traffic, and then they were just blocking the roads. The cars couldn't move. So they actually allegedly passed a law. I'd have to follow up on that. Yeah. Just because it was so bad.
I mean, even if we check up on that law, like did or didn't happen, there's laws on texting and driving. So how bad is it that we have to put it in the same category as drinking and
driving, right? Man? That's
so
crazy.
If they're telling you cannot operate this 2-ton vehicle safely, you're gonna kill yourself or kill people. Stop doing it. That's you're not awake, right? Just like a drug is taking you away from that focused, an awake, alert state. No, you're sleeping. You're not connected, and you're gonna kill somebody.
Yeah, I mean, and chances are, if you're driving on the highway and you see somebody swerving, they're probably texting
On their phone.
Probably not drunk.
Yeah, I would say exactly. Like if I see that, I'm like, oh, that guy's drunk. It's like, no, it's like 2:00 in the afternoon. They're probably that guy's on Instagram. Exactly.
Or watching porn.
Oh, yeah, jerking off while they drive. Hey, that's awesome.
You have it on your phone. I mean, it's accessible, man. Reddit, anywhere, man.
I know how you do that.
You can. You can. You can watch porn everywhere, bro.
Control the wheel.
You're sleeping. You don't actually drive, bro. You just hope you make it there without killing yourself.
Because one hand on the phone, the other hand.
Right.
I don't know.
Somebody's driving it. It's probably a Tesla.
I'm telling you, man. It's.
But yeah, and it's a daily thing. And George mentioned the topic to bring up that topic, right? It's like pornography. You're looking at it, and it's muted. You know what I mean? You're like, you don't want anybody to hear
Right,
shit.
of course not.
You know, you're imagining the moan because you don't want anybody to hear what you're doing. But social media's okay. If you hear a different thing, if you hear someone in the other room and every 30 seconds it's a different noise. One's about dogs and that's about cats and that's a park and that's a thing. It's like, oh, they're on Instagram. It's totally normal.
Yeah.
But they don't realize that, let's say 3 out of those 5 different scrolls was a hot woman or a really fit dude.
Yeah.
That's setting certain, standards for what their partner should look like, right? Or what their urges should be.
Right.
Should be at, right? It's not about work anymore. I'm not going to go to work and be productive and supply some sort of good, production for this company. It's like, no, now I just went for that little break and I'm thinking about women again.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to sexualize my coworker and so on and so forth, So I think part of that is you can't escape it. Once you're in that world and you're exposed to those scrolls, you're going to hit a woman or a male or some other sexual content. And that is your segue into pornography or OnlyFans or anything else like that.
Yeah. It's like any other trigger.
Yeah.
Right. No matter where you are. And guess what? You're not going to get written up at work for being on Instagram. But God forbid you're on any porn site, you're going to lose your job.
Right.
So, and then Instagram knows this.
Right.
Instagram knows it.
I have a question. I want your thoughts on this. When you see social media platforms like Instagram or TikTok and they have kids on the platforms, like I know TikTok has a lot of kids on it, and they have, 1 million, 2 million subscribers, and all the kids are doing, usually it's females, dancing, right? Like doing whatever they're doing, right? Do you think that TikTok or Instagram are becoming sort of like the training wheels for something like OnlyFans? Or do you think I'm way off?
And not only is it training wheels, I think it's almost...
I don't know. I'm asking. I really don't know.
I don't know, man.
Right? Training
What they're doing
wheels.
is dancing, shaking their butts.
Right.
They're on TikTok. They got millions of followers. They're being rewarded for this behavior. They're getting all this attention. In some cases, maybe their parents are managing their accounts. They're getting money or sponsorships. Sure. They're being rewarded.
Millionaires.
Right. They're rich in a lot of cases, right? Not in every case, but is that sort of like a stepping stone to something like, hey, if this works, why would I get a job? Why would I be in a 9-to-5 or go to school to become a doctor or lawyer
or an astronaut when I could be an influencer?
Right. That goes back to us talking about TikTok and the spinach version that China's getting. Is it a stepping stone for the next thing, right? What's the next thing? Yeah. Oh, I'll give you more money if you just get naked, right? Because if you got 1 million followers, maybe they're not all kids following you.
Yeah. And that goes to the whole grooming thing, right?
Right.
And that's something that parents will run into on their Instagram, but I don't think many parents really understand. What does that grooming mean? When they say, well, be careful, that guy's grooming your kids, but nobody's like, what does that mean? It's like, well, if they're on the social media, like you said, and they have millions of followers, you're going to tell me those are millions of kids? Do you have any idea how many schools that is?
Yeah.
You come out to like every city, school is following your kids. Like, no, those are grown-ass men and women following your child. And every little, very, very feminine, very sexual TikTok dance, most of them are.
Right.
At some point, there's an angle that exposes their ass and it's working. It doesn't work other way.
Yeah.
So it's training wheels, like you said. It's a perfect training wheel for that kid to start kind of programming in this as well. If I move this way, more people watch, more people follow, and then money comes in, and then, well, duh, we all work for money. And then, oh, I'm 18 now. And sometimes, unfortunately, even before that, right?
Right.
But, I'm 18 now.
Yep.
If I just do this some more and I don't have to worry about doing any juvenile stuff, I'm going to be a millionaire because that's what everybody else is doing, right? And if I sexualize myself and now I just take off this little piece, I'm a millionaire.
Right. They're being rewarded for it.
They're being rewarded.
So if you're a kid and obviously you have a developing brain and this is what you do and you're this successful, in my opinion, the next step is that you're going to do something like that, right? You're going to end up going into OnlyFans or into pornography or into something else, right? So that's kind of something to think about, right? If your kids are on social media and they're making content, right? This word that I freaking hate. They're making content. They're making, videos or dances or TikToks or whatever they're doing. Kind of think about that, right?
And even on a website like Twitch, where you might think that your kid is watching Fortnite videos.
Fortnite.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And Roblox.
Yeah, you think it's
Roblox and Fortnite. That's right.
You can go on the IRL part of Twitch, which stands for in real life, and you see a lot of like webcam girls.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're still abiding by the legal,
Terms of service of Twitch or whatever. Right?
They're not naked, but
They almost
use
are.
your imagination a little bit. They're naked.
Yeah.
They're sitting in a swimming pool in their room in a bikini,
Yeah.
right? And people are donating. It's soft porn, and they're going, "Oh, click this link."
And
Right.
that's the link. That's the
It's
link.
their OnlyFans, or it's their Pornhub.
Wow.
And so, I mean, that's Twitch. You would never think so, but if you do a little research, you would,
So and that's a platform for gamers, right?
for live streamers.
Live streamers, gaming. But there's this other little side to it that,
And your 13-year-old could be looking at it. And he's unaware.
he probably is.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, well, you use the word donating, right? So if these companies have to change the words, right? Change what reality is, pay me for this sexual act.
Correct. Yeah.
That's probably a sign it's not good, right?
Yeah.
If you have, whether it be that, whether it be donating on Twitch or the OnlyFans and stuff like that, if you're not literally saying, I'm paying you $20 for you to take your top off and squeeze your nipples, and you're not writing that, you're going to say, I'm going to give you this sticker or this rose or this flower,
These bits.
The bits.
then we're hiding what it really is, right? You have human trafficking going on. You have pornography, prostitution, underage sometimes. And, back then, and back to that first episode, what do I want to be when I grow up, right? Influencer, because that's what this kid has been influenced to believe is success and is a good thing to do. Becoming an astronaut, oh man, let's go to school, right? 4 plus 6, 7 years of school.
8 years.
And then trying to get a job and all this.
Yeah.
Why? I can just shake my ass a little bit.
Yeah.
Dance, figure out the algorithm, make content, and now I'm rich and famous. And back then you'd tell somebody, why wouldn't you do porn? Oh my God, no. When I grow up, I don't want my kids to see that.
Yeah.
Right.
I can't dive into that even though money's tight, because I'm going to be an adult one day and I don't want, my family to see that. Now it's an accolade. What do you mean? Nobody's hiding from that.
Yeah.
Nobody's shameful that you're going to be a mom. You're going to be, everybody has needs and all that. But when it became something you didn't resort to as a need, you did it because that's what you thought was progression of your career. Right. Now you're talking about the problem.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people, and let's just say for what it is, I don't think a lot of people grow up and like, I can't wait to be a prostitute.
Yeah.
No, you do it because that's desperation, right? That's all you had. You had to surprise, give your family something to starve. But no one in their right mind says, I want to grow up to be a prostitute. But someone says, I want to grow up to be an OnlyFans model. No, it's not so bad. Now I'm a model now.
It sounds softer for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything's been dumbed down. Donations, stickers, bits. I'm a model. I'm
You're
an
a model.
influencer. It's like, no, you're a modern day prostitute. You're a modern day human trafficking victim.
Yeah.
But it's okay because you have a lot of numbers next to that word that says followers. You have drones behind you. You have sleepers in your list there, and you're fine with that. People are liking it. You got little hearts that are popping up. So it's okay. I'll keep doing it.
Right. And maybe you're listening in and you're a single mother and you're an OnlyFans model. This is just we're making you guys aware of what's going on.
Wake up.
Yeah, wake up. That's pretty much it. We don't mean, if that's your situation, we don't know why you're doing it. You always have your reasons, but we're kind of it's just an umbrella term. Okay.
Right. If you're an OnlyFans model, you're an adult, then you're an adult, right? We're talking more about kids and
That transition that's
Right.
almost like imposed on them.
where it's something that is being celebrated and they're almost being like brainwashed into this next step that maybe that's not what they should be doing. Maybe they should be an astronaut. You know what I mean?
Right. And I know for a fact that if you are an OnlyFans model, you listen to this podcast, you don't want your child to be an OnlyFans model. I know
That is
OnlyFans male.
Right. That means
Okay.
you talk about not offending anybody, but let's be real. If you are that OnlyFans model, I don't think as a mom, as a dad, parent, whatever, you're like, oh, I can't wait till my kid turns 18 so they can do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's just the truth. They're not going to fucking say that.
Yeah, brother.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And when it comes to pornography, you're going to put a lot of work into that content, right? And then the OnlyFans, all these people, you're going to put your work, your
this is
blood, sweat, semen, whatever, into that production.
Yeah.
Because you want the views. You want the people who are addicted to that pornography to tune in and watch.
We get it. Yeah, it's your job. We're not
It's about it's about the person who's doing it.
Yeah.
They're creating that content for you. But everybody else who's now consuming that, no consideration was taken for you. Yeah. No consideration was taken to, I'm going to hook this guy into that. I'm going to make that guy go negative into his bank account. No matter his celebratory status or fitness or whatever, these people are really busting their ass to make sure their content is worthwhile and to get you into that world of addiction and pornography through avenues of social media and everything else, how they can connect with you. So just keep that in mind. These people, these actors, are really working hard to make sure you are sucked in, like Larry Wheels said, and you have no escape.
No. Right. It's part of the system.
These topics can go in a million different directions, but obviously we want to bring up, what that connection to pornography is terrible.
Yeah.
And what that connection is, again, to social media, right? How it really opens that door to that world of pornography. And a lot of times earlier than it has to be.
Right. So if you're trying to like no fap, like you were saying, and not watch pornography, maybe getting off social media might help that.
Right. Yeah. If you're trying to quit alcohol and someone's walking into your, knocking on the door and bringing you a beer every 5 minutes, you're probably not going to succeed. Right.
Yeah.
So you're doing the same thing to yourself.
Right.
If you have this goal, don't make it harder than it already is by exposing yourself to softcore porn, like Uncle Lou mentioned, every single day, every 5 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you in the next episode. This is QSM.
QuitSocialMedia.com.
Don't be a sleeper.
Check it out.
Thanks for listening to the QSM Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, tune in next time and share with others. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and visit our website, QuitSocialMedia.com, for more exclusive content. Until next time, remember to unplug and reconnect.